Do you think the call happened with Eric Coomer?
I will say I do not believe it happened.
Okay. Now you ready?
Let's go.
All right. We'll start at the beginning. Apollo, pop up here with me. I'm going to take you back in time. I'm going to go all the way back to March of 2020. So this is the interview of you interviewing me so I can interview you. Okay. March of 2020, I just got back from Europe. I was over in the UK. I went there to watch a soccer match with my wife. People were talking about this virus, but things weren't shut down. I think it was the 27th or 28th of March I got back, and the next day or the day after that, they closed down everything. Okay. Wasn't political. I mean, I liked President Trump a lot, but politics weren't the same as they are today. It just wasn't, liberal conservative. I mean, I'd crack jokes about my business partner who loves Bernie Sanders. I call him a Bernie bro. My business partner for 13 years. And so I wasn't particularly, there was no, I bought him a yarmulke to wear when I went to Israel, and I came back and I gave him this thing that said Trump 2016. And then I made him put it on, and I took a picture of him. It was awesome. And then I told him I'd hold that as blackmail if he ever told me he didn't support President Trump.
I think he showed me that once.
Yeah. And so I now I want to point out a few things that I think are important. One, 2019, I was Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year nominee. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay. In 2020, I was also a nominee for Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And in 2020, I was also a finalist for Entrepreneur of the Year. We had never taken outside capital. This is a bunch of stuff you've never heard before. Okay. I'm sure of it. Because none of the articles would ever say any of this stuff about me. I was set to sell my company in 2021 for north of $200 million. I was one of the largest first-party data aggregators in the nation. I had built some pretty cool stuff called Prometheus intelligence technology. I ran my company. I was debt-free. They had wrote an article in the Denver Business Journal about the fact that I had been able to take a bunch of data. I wasn't getting involved in elections. I was getting involved in my community. And a friend of mine, in April, remember when the stock market dropped by 1,000 points in one day? Do you remember that?
I do. Yep.
It was big, right? I mean, people were panicking. They thought this is 2008 all over again, 2007 all over again. This is the sky is falling, right? Kind of like today. Kind of like what we're dealing with right now. It's almost identical, actually. It's identical to it, right? So my friend called me and said, Joe, they canceled my line of credit. Now, everyone at the time, I wasn't in podcasting. I had Conservative Daily, right? Conservative Daily, I started back in 2011. And we basically gave people the ability to talk to congressmen, but I didn't run it. I used a pseudonym called Joe Otto. I had writers that would write stuff about, the Marine that was they got caught up in Mexico. I remember the Marine that got caught in Mexico, and they basically put him in a prison, and he went across the border, accidentally tried to do a U-turn. They wouldn't let him.
Maurici or something like that.
Yeah. So we actually were the ones that got him released. We actually worked with Congress. And then you had the Navy guy that was on a ship, and the parent, the judge was going to strip him of his parental rights, but he couldn't get there. So we found out about that, and we literally hammered that judge. We hammered the judge. I mean, it was awesome. And got the judge to reverse course. Thousands and thousands of people reached out against that judge. Now, during this same time, I played football with gang members. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay. So I played flag football for about the last 15 years. I played flag football in a league that worked with guys on the inner city. And I can actually still throw a football 60 yards on a string. Apollo has had to be tattooed with my football. Is that true?
got stuck with one of those, like right here.
Yeah. And prior to 2020, in 2018, one of my guys that I play ball with, got picked up for a drug charge that was completely made up. He had turned his life around. Both of the people that he went to school with, that he was buddies with, both had been murdered. Both drug dealing, murdered. He had to make a decision, change his life, right? And a couple years prior to that, made a decision to go different direction. Brother asked him to send some drugs through the mail. He worked for UPS, and so I went to the DA, and I advocated for my friend, and I got the charges dropped against my friend. Now, it wasn't after I got kicked out of the room because I called the ADA a racist. I was pissed. She wouldn't listen to me, right? So I'm a very passionate person, right? I believe that I am my brother's keeper, and that you have to represent your community. I was a Tocqueville member for United Way. I was a investment chair for the Boy Scouts. I sat on the Village Exchange Center, which works with refugees that come into the country to give them opportunities and to give them stuff. I sat on that board for 4 years. I was the most active board member that they had. You can go check all of this. I'm selling my company, going through all this process. My friend commits suicide in April. You talked about the things that changed you. Your parents being doxxed. You actually said, it's not even me. It's my parents, my friends, my family, right? You created a nexus to what was most important in your life, right? Okay. My nexus was the fact that he called me on Monday or Tuesday and said, I need help. And before I got a chance to help him, I said, hey, if you need me to borrow money, I'll let you borrow money. Before I got a chance to help him, I got a call from his wife that says, Mark's gone. He committed suicide. And I talked to him that night. And between that night and the next day, he checked out because he had gone through what happened in 2008 and he didn't want to go through it again. Right? Remember what you just said? You have to walk through it to get to the other side. You got to get through it, right? Well, he didn't have it in him. So now I'm angry because the narrative of this virus and shutting down our community and doing all the things they're doing looked like an op. Now, here's something else you didn't know about me. I spent 6.5 years in the Middle East and Africa negotiating in conflict zones. Did you know that?
I did not.
Shwaya Arabiya. I speak Arabic. I worked between Muslims, Christians, and Jews. I started an organization that basically tried to get people to stop killing each other. I was very good at it for 6.5 years. I have been in rooms with kings, presidents, and prime ministers. I have pictures with me. I have all the pictures to prove it. Right? Now, but I'm a podcaster. They said, just a podcaster. I did that for 6.5 years. I saw the CIA do really bad things to people. I saw what USAID was doing long before anybody thought it was cool. I saw what Columbia University had done with Jeffrey Sachs. I was on the BBC radio show back in 2010 talking about the fact that there is no millennium villages. There is no genocide and ethnic cleansing in Darfur. That was all made up. I wrote white papers. I worked on election protocols. I did stuff to help other countries, and I did so for free. Okay? The only reason, and my daughter, we could bring her in, the only reason that I did not stay doing this is because my daughter went to high school, and she started going from straight A's to D's and F's. And I believe that your parents would do anything for you. Right? All right.
They
And
would.
you would do anything for your parents.
Absolutely.
Well, my daughter meant the world to me. And she kept telling her counselor, I was in Doha, Qatar. I was meeting with Guantanamo Bay prisoner 345, Sam El-Haj, at Al Jazeera, who spent years in Guantanamo Bay being tortured as a cameraman that was found during the Iraqi war in 2002. I wanted to hear from him, this gentle giant, what actually happened. But I got a call from her counselor that says, your daughter thinks you're going to die every time you leave the house. I spent a lot of time over there. So I looked at my partners on both sides who are very, very successful. One was an ex-congressman. And I said, guys, I need to take a sabbatical. And they're like, for how long? I did the math. And I was like, well, my daughter and my son both have to go through school. About 8 years, 7 to 8 years. And I told them what had happened. And I said, I'll help you over the next year, but I'm out. I made that decision in a split second because of my daughter, because I finally heard that this was the reason. Now I knew what the reason was. So I'm a guy that's I don't care. I had a seat in the table and was treated like royalty everywhere I went. I was really good at what I did. People loved the fact that I could solve problems. Who would want to give that up? I certainly didn't. But I love my children more than I love anything about you. There's nothing you could give me. I love my family. That's context for you for what comes next. So I lose my friend. I see what's happening. I had seen this play out overseas. What they did overseas, they did it overseas first. They destroyed nations, right? And I'm sure you've done I've seen your podcast. You are a research junkie, right? So you will research things all the way to the very end, right? So you know that the CIA was directly involved in not respecting the sovereignty of other nations. You also know that there are no weapons of mass destruction. That was an absolute lie. That all of this stuff. Do you know, or am I making this up? I mean,
No, you're right. Yep.
Okay. So what I'm saying is not unreasonable. It's not a lie, right? Would you agree? It's not a lie. And that we've done really bad things to people all over the world. Americans have, in the name of democracy. Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what happened in the summer of love. That wasn't a summer of love. Antifa came out. We used this perfect example of a guy that was going to create a controversy. His name was George Floyd, who had 4 times the lethal limit of fentanyl in his body. They made up the story that they was leaning on his neck, which he wasn't. Was he? You tell me. Was he?
It was not.
But the original video, they made it seem like he was. Only gave us one angle, right? They didn't show us how he was respected through the entire experience of them arresting him and how he kicked himself out of the deal. And I can't. Nobody got mad at him. Nobody beat him. It wasn't a Rodney King moment, right? There was none of that. But they put him up on a pedestal and said it's police brutality. So they knew this was the perfect example that people that are reasonable wouldn't accept, but they had to build a story. And they also knew that people get all of their news in 15-second clips. And so there would be people that would mule onto it that did not want to do the hard work to look under the hood. And therefore, they could institutionally and intentionally be dishonest to the American people and create this racial thing. Right?
Absolutely.
And they shut down communities and force people to wear masks. All the things in order to basically take the Constitution, ball it up, and throw it in the trash. That's why I got involved. I saw my friend die. I saw businesses actually lose their entire life saving. Now, I was fine. I had over 1,000 clients. We had more revenue than I knew what to do with. I was driving around in a really cool car. I was living my best life. You could shut things down. It wasn't going to affect me. And I'm an EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. What do I care? I'm going to sell my company, go drink Mai Tais. Why am I getting involved in this? Why would you? I mean, Kirk, would you get involved with it? Why would you get involved with it? This is stupid. I should have stayed out of it, right? Just stay out of it. But I'm watching my community burn down, my brothers and sisters. I live my life in my faith. You could say it's that, Joe, you get a little spicy for a guy that lives in his faith. I would tell you that I love Jesus, but I am not Jesus. Like, I follow him, but I mean, I'm a flawed man, and I love fighting for other people. I don't like bullies. I mean, Apollo, is this pretty true about me? Is this
Yeah,
true?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you lived in my home, Apollo, for 18 months.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was spicy then too. I didn't hide it. I was not
Joe
any
has
different.
never not been spicy.
Like-
But Joe says he loves fighting for other people. I've seen him do that before I actually started with him. When this Coomer thing happened, I had met Joe because of what he was doing with FEC United, and I had some crossover because we would show up to make sure that Antifa didn't hurt people. And I saw Joe be just the same kind of individual there. He would stand up and then try to give other people a voice. And I didn't really know him all that well, but I never once saw Joe start a fight. I've seen Joe de-escalate a lot of fights. Like, he'll get spicy on Twitter, but I've never seen Joe, go off his hinge and do anything violent. He's been extremely consistent.
Well, there was a time that I hit a guy, knocked him out, and then had to tell him that he got a concussion. He needed to go home.
That was before all that started. I found out you were there that day, like months later.
It was the Back to Blue, Kirk. It was the Back to Blue rally that got spicy with they broke up all the equipment and stuff. And it was what was her name? It was there. The woman. Michelle Malkin. Yeah. And so I just started beating people because, I mean, they were throwing punches, so I was throwing punches. Turns out I was better at throwing punches.
That was the 22.
Yeah.
That was the 2020. Yeah,
2020.
Yeah.
2020.
Right.
It was 2020. It was, because remember, this led up to October of 2020 when the hat maker was murdered.
Lee Keltner,
who was an amazing guy. He was amazing, right? You couldn't say a bad word about that guy. He's just a nice guy. Sorry, he just was.
And who took his life? KUSA and their security guard.
Yes.
Just so happened to have the same philosophy as Antifa and BLM.
Who
and
actually
Occupy Wall Street.
had videos of him supporting Antifa.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So I'm in the middle of the summer of love. I'm protecting people. And I started hearing about kids being groomed on videos with parents, now figuring out what the teachers are doing. And now I'm like, holy cow. What in the, again, Kurt, I didn't know anything about elections. I started the organization FEC United. It means faith, education, and commerce, the three pillars of our society. It also means Federal Election Commission, doesn't it? I didn't know it at the time. Everybody says, like, this is the coincidence. I'm like, you have no idea. I'm a system architect. I have 2 tech companies. You are welcome to come to it. We have 2 studios. I invited you actually to come in the studio and sit with me in studio. But I started that organization, and 500, 600, 700, 800 people would show up at events. And I'm like, listen, they balled the Constitution up. They threw it in the trash. You do not have to sit here and wear a mask. You do not have to give into this stuff. I was trying to empower my community. At the same time, I spent almost $500,000 building software that helped restaurants and small businesses stay in business, because it was all of a sudden, it wasn't cool. If you went to Walmart, the virus didn't exist, but small businesses, we needed a daddy, right? And so you needed somebody to come keep you safe. So you had to close, right? So Walmart's good. Liquor stores, yeah. Also, virus doesn't exist at liquor stores or dispensaries. It's completely, they're exempt, right? But a small business, a restaurant, oh my gosh. Oh, and by the way, you have to wear a mask, but you can take the mask off when you sit down, because actually the virus only exists at 4 feet, 4 inches, right above your head.
It respects elevation,
Right, it respects elevation, yeah. You're sitting down and you're following the rules, so no, it's not going to hurt you. So that's how I got involved. I got involved because of the ridiculous. And I own gun stores and ranges. And then I own businesses. I own an event center at the time, which I no longer own. I owned a bunch of other stuff. But not one day did I shut any of my businesses down. And then I empowered other people and said, okay, I will hire you an attorney. I will work over here. I became a voice that said, let's go to the Capitol. And I used my data to bring people together so that they felt like they had a voice. We had 29,000 people on Facebook. We had all sorts of people that were engaged in these different communities. I brought people to the Capitol, and I just started helping people. And at the same time, the Ernst & Young people are saying, shut your freaking mouth. If you will just shut your mouth, you will win. You can walk away from this. Apollo, you know all the people that are in my company dating back before this. The guy has been my partner for 13 years, where we were not going to sell the company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were done. It was a foregone conclusion. I'm going to make more money than I could spend in my life. I'm being groomed into this environment. And yet I'm fighting, and they're like, just shut up. Shut your mouth, Joe. Just please shut up. And I'm like, I can't. I felt like I was a puppet, that I had to speak up for my community. And then the same person that you're talking about interviewed me, Sean Heidi Beadle, June of 2020. Wrote this horrible article about me. You didn't know that either, did you?
I did not.
It was followed up by an article by 9 News that I was a horrible human being and that I ran these companies. And then all of a sudden, all the people in my company started getting phone calls, and people would show up in the lobby and they would dox, and you had other people that would get on LinkedIn and threaten them on LinkedIn. And then they would write these bad reviews about my company, and then they would get on Glassdoor and say all these bad things about my company. And they got doxed every part of my company. And I was like, what is happening? So I would talk about Sean Beadle at the FEC meetings. That's how it started. And the guy named John Tig Tigan, who started UADF. Now, had you heard any of this stuff before? By the way, have you heard any of this stuff?
I'm familiar with Tig Teagan. I didn't know your connection with him or anything like that.
Did you know anything about the fact that she interviewed me, a video interview of me, and wrote this article about me before that I knew what he was, right? I didn't even know she was a he. I didn't know. But I got on and I talked about protecting the community and everything else. And I recorded the interview, and then the article came out, and it literally made me look like Hitler. It was unbelievable. And it was the Colorado Springs Independent, the Indy. That's where it came out in. This is before he was at the other one. And I'm like, who is this? Who is this guy? And then there was another guy that wrote all this stuff about me that works for the Colorado Times-Recorder. And his name is, what was his name?
Malbich?
Look, Eric Malbich?
Yeah, Eric. And he's an Antifa guy. And then I connected the dots to Tay Anderson and all this other stuff. But keep in mind, like I just thought that they were people writing bad stuff about me, right? That they were just lying. That these were, but I'm having this conversation with Tig. I'm helping him build UADF so he can protect the community. Antifa got, you can check this. Antifa got 1 day. They got 1 day in the state of Colorado where they destroyed things. And from that day on, Tig Tigan, UADF, Joe Oltmann, Apollo, we all showed up. No matter where they went, they showed up to burn down a police station in Aurora. We showed up, they left. They came to Denver to do harm. We were right there. We told them, we'll kick your teeth in. We'll get you. You're going to need a dentist because we're coming for you. Very open. Were we not open, Apollo? It's very open.
Yeah, I mean, like they weren't that smart. They would post on social media
where they're going. So
yeah,
we'd show
like, we're going to be in Aurora over here. And we're like, hey, cool. We'd be like, yeah, we will too. Better stay calm. And then after like posts of it's our city, we're going to stay here all the they'd leave. And the cops would be like, yeah, I don't know where they went.
All right. So fast forward, Kirk. We go through all this stuff. I'm having all these meetings. We're having meetings twice a week for FEC United, UADF. They're calling me a militiaman. There's, I mean, there was probably Sean Beadle was writing an article about me every 5 to 6 days. Eric Mabach was writing articles about me every, I don't know, 2 weeks. It was crazy. And all I wanted to do was give people in the community a voice. I didn't think what I was doing was all that controversial. Faith. Let's get pastors to start talking about the fact that you should be able to talk about what's happening at the pulpit. Education. We shouldn't have indoctrination in education. It was really simple, right? I just want parents to have a seat at the table. They didn't. Commerce, businesses should be able to open and pick their own level of risk. And you as a person should be able to walk in and pick your level of risk. You should be able to go, hey, you know what? If I get a virus, I get a virus. Now, at the same time, we knew it was the China virus. They lied about that too. So they lied about the China virus. They lied about everything they lied about. They lied about every time we turn around, they were lying over and over and over and over again. And the media was running cover for them and saying misinformation, disinformation. They blocked you and canceled you and did all this stuff, right? So all that checks up to this point, yeah? Right?
If I may interject for real quick.
Yeah.
During the beginning of the pandemic, KUSA did a little pro-masking video on behalf of the governor, Jared Polis. In June or so, Jared Polis puts out a Facebook video declaring which news outlets are to be trusted during the pandemic. And of course, KUSA was one of them. And they would hound people who oppose masking. Kyle Clark put out a tweet that said, when you say China virus, we know what you're really saying. In an attempt to smear anybody who knew that the virus came from the Wuhan lab. And they were all in on it.
And they all knew it was like a fraternity. And Kirk, you knew it was wrong. Everybody knew it was wrong. But then we had people that were even Republicans were like, oh, just be quiet. Shh. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you serious? And then they started killing people and saying that there was this mass hysteria. And people were losing their businesses. They were losing their lives. They were losing their homes. They were losing everything. Now, some people grew up wealthy. I grew up dirt poor. I knew what it looked like to lose everything. I knew what it looked like. And it didn't appeal to me that I wanted to watch my brothers and sisters. Now, keep in mind, I played football with gang members. I sit on all these boards. Everyone loved me. I gotten all these awards for being like a great guy that I had never shared with anyone. I never talked about any of this. I gave away more money than most people make a year to organizations. And I'm talking about good jobs, right? $300,000-$400,000 a year was not a lot. It was not uncommon for me to spend supporting a cause. I spent a lot of money on people because I felt guilty for my success. So part of it is driven by guilt. You're successful. You want kids. I paid for education for kids to go to private school rather than public school, and some of them were illegal. So I didn't really have a big stance on illegals either. I wanted to take care of children. I wanted them to have a chance. I still do that to this day, by the way. And I still play football. And I still do other stuff. And I still mentor 2 men that have been incarcerated for 7-8 years of a 20-year sentence. One's called the Dream Center. One of the guys that I mentored, just to put this in there, that I mentored way, way back in 2010, 2011, 2012, he's upstairs. His name's Dominic. He works for me. He was one of the kids that I went and visited at a youth correction facility. I said, I want the hardest guy you got. And they gave me this kid. And he's now an IT specialist in my company and has 2 beautiful kids and is an amazing man, an amazing father. Amazing. Right? Okay. Go through Summer of Love. Whoo, got through it. All these bad articles. We get to August. Things are not looking good. I mean, everything that you're talking about the election, you're not allowed to do this. You can only protest if you're actually standing out there saying, that we're seeing we're seeing Republicans in our community go out there and repeat after me what these radical leftist BLM people are saying. And I'm like, what is going on? And Shaven is going to a trial, and they're going to convict these cops and throw them in jail forever. And I mean, it's crazy. And now the real story's coming out about what the video looks like, and now people are having conflicts. It was the perfect chaotic moment. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And what do they say? Never let a crisis go to waste, right?
Right. Chaos favors the op, doesn't favor the people. Now, keep in mind, I had this kid come in, this Antifa kid. Now, he was originally sent to get information. This is the hardest part about all of this, is that he's like, I'm Antifa. And I'm like, good for you. And if you know anything about me, I'm like, all right, I was Antifa. Okay. Yeah, good for you, son. Go do what you're going to do. Right. I hope you learn something. I say it all the time. I hope you learn something. I hope you listen to the podcast, you learn something. And most of them won't, but some will. And he comes in the first meeting and says, I know Antifa. I know that. I'm like, good for you. And the second time he comes in, he's like, no, you don't understand. Those people that are writing this stuff about you, they're Antifa. I'm like, wait a minute. Antifa? You mean the journalists? Those people? Yeah, they're all part of this Antifa. And I was like, no shit. And I still wasn't convinced. He knew I wasn't. Like, everyone wants to talk to me when I was at these meetings. You have 500 to 800 people. I'm talking about, hey, look, you got to honor the Lord. It's, I wear this thing on my thing that says Galatians 4:16. Am I the enemy because I tell you the truth? It's like the Bible verse that is on the floor of my garage. I come home and I see it. Let that guide you. Okay? That's August-ish. He goes, I can get you on a call that they have, an Antifa call. And he didn't call it an Antifa call. He says, I can get you on one of the calls. I go, okay. Now I'm interested. But I'm interested because of the journalist. I only wanted the journalist. I want to be able to say, okay, this guy said that these guys are Antifa and he's Antifa. He's going to get me on this call. Done. So I went to TIG, John Tigan, who filled out an affidavit, right? Did you know there was an affidavit?
I did not.
All right. So there's an affidavit. And in the affidavit, John's like, I was going to be on the call, but I had to go I was going to speak, so I couldn't be on the call. By the way, nobody deposed him. and they've walked past the affidavit. So he does the affidavit, he goes through it, and he's like, yeah, and I was supposed to be on it. And when he got back, I told him about the call. I'm like, listen, this is what happened on the call. Pretty interesting, pretty crazy stuff. These people feel like they're like Jedis. And the one thing I said is, and I said it on the podcast because we started this podcast with Max McGuire. I said it on the podcast. I said, yeah, these people are nutballs. These Antifa people are nutballs. Keep in mind, I didn't video on that. I was still using Joe Otto. I tried to stay as agnostic as possible. I didn't want to put my name out there because, frankly, I was a technologist. I wasn't an activist, but I was a journalist. I mean, in essence, I was a journalist. I mean, I'd started this organization in 11 so that I could help people like the Marine down in Mexico, like the Navy corpsman that was in Minnesota with a judge, like so many different things, like the Affordable Care Act and how we go against that. And I was even fighting in 2012 for the Smith Modernization Act because we knew it was going to take away the ability or give the government the ability to lie to its people, right? Okay, fast forward. I get on the call. September-ish. I write out notes. Now, I will admit, I'm not a good note taker. I like to doodle, right? But if you come to my office, you will see that I have stacks of books that are books of notes. I know what it means. You probably wouldn't, but I know what it means. Okay? And so I'm on the call. And one of the big things is that he did not want it to be recorded because he felt that if it was recorded, he would put himself at risk. Now, knowing what they did do to Antifa people, what they've done to people, and what they've done to you, what they've done to me, what they've really done to me, they don't play. They shot a guy in the chest at the end of 2020 in Oregon that was a anti-Antifa guy. And then you got Rittenhouse. I mean, I can keep going. I mean, these people are diabolical. Look at what Sean Beadle said after he got outed for being the Antifa leader. Yeah, I think they all should die. Fell off the wagon, just say they all need to die. That's who they are. Okay? So I get on the call, I take my notes. Eric Coomer, when he comes up, he talks about it's the weirdest call in the world, because if you've ever gotten involved or seen some of these Antifa calls, it's some of them are a little bit more elastic, where some people will stay very focused, and most of the calls are people that spend a lot of time being simps. like they just it's a weird dynamic between people, because half of the people are just listening and taking their orders, and the other half are busy trying to bolster themselves. Very bombastic. And Tay Anderson was on that call. And I thought Sean Beadle was on that call. But nobody had their names as their names on the call, on the Zoom call. And so you can't, it becomes very difficult to tell who is who. Tay's got a very distinctive voice. Eric Coomer has a very distinctive voice. Sean Beadle, not so much. Depends on what day, because he, she, it, whatever you want to call it, can change its voice, right? Am I wrong?
Nah.
Okay. So I wasn't sure, but there was other people on the call. And as I'm going through it, there's certain things that were said on the call that concerned me. One was what was happening in Aurora with the Breonna Taylor deal, being shot and killed during a raid at her house, and that was another one of the BLM things, and who they wanted to target. And then this guy Joey Camp, who I had never talked to before, ever. I'd never talked to Joey Camp. Never had a conversation with him. I didn't particularly get involved in the dynamics of the what I call the soup. I was just there to help. Like, they called me, I'll build this, I'll do this. I was very tactical. I wanted to talk to I wanted people in the community to go out and protect their children, is really what I wanted them to do. Okay. So I do my research. There's guy Eric. Who's Eric? Somebody asked, who's Eric? Eric's a Dominion guy. Okay. So you would say, well, that's not enough to go on, Joe. I would say, okay. Yeah, it wasn't. It was enough to go on to go look up Dominion, Eric, Denver, Colorado. Now, I will tell you, there's a screenshot of a Google deal. Did you know about that? Where it said, Kurt, this is the problem with the media, is the media can say one thing, and the reality of it is that I Googled it, Eric, Dominion, Denver, Colorado, because we're in Denver, right? So Denver, Colorado, Eric, Dominion, saw what came up. On that thing, all the stuff comes up. Guess what comes up? Dominion voting system, Eric Coomer. Dominion voting system, Eric Coomer. I have a screenshot of it, right? Now, the screenshot was done in November of 2020 because a guy named Randy Corcoran asked me to find out, go back through in the system. My computer was replaced in that time, which is documented, and said, can you go in and show me what you reviewed? So I used what's called the Wayback Machine inside of Google. So inside of Google, you can go in there and you can set the date parameters, put in Denver, Colorado, or Eric, Dominion, Denver, Colorado, right? You could do that. And you set a date parameter. So I went all the way back, I think, to September. I think I picked a day in the beginning of September, and I'm like, here, boom. And it pops up all the things, the same thing, Eric Coomer, Dominion voting says, blah, 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 right? The next day, I run another Google query, which is also in the record. Eric, Dominion, Denver, Colorado. Guess what wasn't on that page?
The links you were talking about.
He wiped the entire internet of Eric Coomer. It's gone. Now, Kirk, who has the power to purge the internet of a human being's name?
Godlike entity for sure.
It has 3 letters, right?
Does it end with A, begin with C?
But I'm going to take you back in time. So I wanted to take you to that so you understand that you didn't know that I had these screenshots.
Screenshot, right?
You didn't know that I have an affidavit for Coomer or for John Tigan. I'm being very detailed, and I'm getting these text messages like, Joe, that I remember some of this. I'm glad you're going through this even more detailed. And I live this life. So this is the part that I know really well, right? This is the part that gives me consternation, because this is where I made a decision that changed my life forever for 4 years. October 15th, 2020. That's before the election, right? I told you that I was on this call. They were Antifa journalists. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about Eric Coomer. Now, I went to the internet and I saw the video, because, by the way, there's a little tab at the top. It says videos. You have videos, images, right?
Images. And
so I watched videos of Eric Coomer in Dominion Voting Systems, right? He was the spokesperson for Dominion. He was a director of strategy and security for Dominion Voting Systems. Now, Kirk, prior to 2020, did you know that they ran 50% of the vote of the American people?
I did not.
Did you even care?
I did not.
I didn't care either. I didn't give a shit. I voted. That's it. That's the extent. I didn't think you could steal an election. You certainly did not think you could steal an election. Nobody thought about stealing an election. It wasn't even a thing, right? And yeah, you'd have people that have bad elections, but you're like, whatever. It wasn't. You didn't even concentrate on any of it. October 15th, 2020. Apollo, what happened on October 15th, 2020?
Oh, this was the day that you got approached, right?
No, this is the day that I was at Vandermeer.
Oh, this is the meeting where they, where you were talking about the Antifa journalists.
Yeah. Kirk, are you familiar with this?
I'm a little bit familiar with it. You mentioned Randy Corporing. I'm a former producer for him, off and on, never full time. I've read the Dominion lawsuit against Salem. That draws heavily from Corporing and everyone else. So I am familiar with some of these details now.
Are you familiar with October 15th of 2020?
Is that like a rally or
yeah, it was a rally.
A big event that happened? Yeah.
Yep.
Vandermeer. Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead and put that article up, if you would, Apollo. So this is a little bit after. This is October 15th. October 16th is when the article came out. And in this article, it says, FEC United founder threatens journalist at GOP candidate event. Who wrote that?
Eric writes a lot about you.
Yeah, right? At an event yesterday intended to showcase the candidates whom the new conservative political group FEC United is supporting, founder Joe Oltmann threatened to dox who? Who was I threatening to dox? Are you with me?
Journalists. Yep.
Antifa journalists.
Yeah. And I claim that I have identified Antifa members that are actually journalists writing stories about us. And there's a video of this. Kirk, now have you seen this?
I have not.
The election hadn't happened yet. This is October 15th. This is before anything. I'm uncovering journalists. Ante Anderson. I'm going through all this stuff. I'm still digging deep into it. You can see my socials, by the way. If you go back on time, if you go to Facebook, which I never even used Twitter that much before that, but Facebook, you'll see that I wrote in there that, we caught them. Caught these Antifa journalists. Right? You didn't know any of that either. And then, but inside of this, what am I looking at?
Ignore that for now.
What's that?
Ignore that for right now.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, I didn't say anything about Coomer. Why did I not say anything about Coomer?
He hadn't come up yet.
He's not important to the story.
Right.
Why would I care if he guys does elections in Denver? The hell do I care? Right? He's a salesperson. You think people, there's a lot of hyperbolic things that people say. People say a lot of bullshit, right? And so why would I pay attention to him? He's not important to the story. He's not important to anything at this point. He just is another Antifa. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And as much as they brag about things, people in Antifa brag about stuff all the time. They've been bragging about stuff for years. Years they've been bragging about it. Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna win this. Turns out they were true. It was true. they were winning stuff. We didn't even see it. They were winning stuff. But I'm 18 days away from the election. Fast forward. Okay, do you want to hear this video? You want to hear it? I can play it for you. Play it.
So we got just a couple more things we're going to go over right now, but the one thing I do want to tell you is data is a really great thing, right? So through this whole process, we've been actually demasking. We have people on the inside in lots of places demasking Antifa members that are actually acting as journalists. So we've uncovered 13 journalists that work for organizations that are part of the Antifa organization that are actually journalists writing stories about us. So the next thing that we're doing because of that is that we're going to start demasking so people in the community know who they are. You want to see what happens? You want to know what doxing looks like? You want to know what it looks like to actually take people who are going to take this country away from you? I'll put them on billboards. And if you don't think I have the money to do it, they'll run out of money before I do.
It's pretty inconvenient that happened 18 days before the election. Fast forward, November 3rd. Where were you at the election on election day, Kirk?
I was at my house watching the results come in.
With your parents?
Yep.
How'd you feel about it?
Oh, the first night, Trump's
Great.
ahead, all these different swing states, everything's going well. I'm going to go to sleep. Wake up, everything changed.
All right. You woke up, how'd you feel?
I was a little skeptical as to what had happened, and then check my Twitter, and things are getting pretty chaotic, and I start questioning exactly what the heck I'm seeing.
Did you hear anything right after about Dominion at all?
Not immediately.
Mm-mm. No, nobody even talked about Dominion until Monday morning. And it was because of a post or a thing that I did, but a video that I did. And I got called from everywhere across the country because of that podcast. I still call myself Joe Otto. Okay, so November 3rd, November 4th, November 5th, we all saw what happened. None of us really got our bearings out of it. We couldn't figure out how it happened, right? We kept hearing about ballots coming in the middle of the night. Like there was crazy stuff happening, right? Nobody could really give us there's no definitive anything. Still, nobody was talking about voting anything. They were just talking about people muling votes or, that's it. That's all we heard about. And we couldn't figure it out. We had all this stuff and you had people screaming and yelling, but they hadn't even called the election yet. They didn't call the election until November 7th. You know that, right? That's Saturday.
Yeah, that's Saturday, right?
Yeah. All right. So November 6th, I'm up elk hunting with Gordon, who is my best friend. At the time, he was 82. He's 87 now. Now, Gordon's wife is one of the top SEC attorneys in the country. They have been friends with my wife and I for many years. He's my guy that is, he's a Mormon fella. Doesn't drink. Owned a accounting firm for the first 100 years of his life. And is probably one of the most amazing men I've ever met. So I'm elk hunting with him. That was the 6th. Right? Would you agree we didn't have much information on the 6th? Would that be accurate?
I'd say it's notionally accurate.
Yes. Okay. On the 6th at night, I did a Facebook post that said, I've got some decisions to make. Things are really big. I'm going to drop some stuff. And Apollo, can you find that? I don't think I pulled it, or did you pull it?
Which video?
It was just a small Facebook post on November 6th.
Let me look for it.
And I said, it's on my Facebook. And I said basically that I have some information that's going to drop that's going to change everything. Now, the 6th at night, I got a text from someone who sent me an article. And in that article was Eric Coomer was the spokesperson for Dominion Voting Systems out of Georgia. And Eric Coomer basically said, as a spokesperson, that they had to make slight updates. Basically, 4 precincts could not vote. They were shut down because they had to do this update in the middle of the election. And the spokesperson was Eric Coomer. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, shit. Now, keep in mind, how many employees are there for Dominion Voting Systems, Kirk?
No idea.
Conservatively, 1,100 FTEs, full-time equivalents. Okay? Now, keep in mind, you're on a call. He says, hey, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. I think the guy thinks he's a Jedi Knight. And by the way, the reason why I use the word Jedi Knight is because all of the conference rooms in our office are named after Star Wars things. So when I say that, it's because I got a bunch of youngins that have this thing going inside the tech. If you know anything about tech, it's either Star Wars or Star Wars or what was it? The other one, Star Trek. Right? That's it. And they all go to Comic-Con. That's just the way it is. So they named all the conference rooms after Star Wars. Okay? So you can't help but not think about Star Wars stuff when you're in the office or when you're even around it, because they're always talking about stuff like that. That was the 6th. I started doing research. I'm really good at research. I'm really good. I'm quick. I knew some things prior to this that I uncovered when I was going through the whole Eric Coomer thing. So I knew where to connect the dots. I got into social accounts, and as you get into it, I got to do it legally, just so we're clear. But he posted the Antifa manifesto the day after it was even broadcast out of Germany. Anti-police, anti-Trump, kill pigs, kill the president, dead president. Some of the most unhinged things you could ever imagine a person saying, he was saying. And I went, holy shit. Now keep in mind, I knew where the bodies were buried because I went and watched those videos on YouTube. And if you've ever watched any videos about Coomer, he has a very distinctive voice. It's not like, it's kind of like hearing President Trump's voice. If I were to have somebody play President Trump's voice, and it was even someone that was just remotely close to that, you would be, that's Trump. Right?
Yeah.
So I went to my friend and I was like, here's what I have. I think I'm in trouble. What do I do? And he told me to stay out of it. That was the night of November 6th. I'm up there elk hunting. Gordon also created an affidavit. He did an affidavit. He's like, this is all that happens. This is all that happened that night. Now, you didn't know about the first affidavit. You didn't know about the fact that I was talking about demasking Antifa or journalists. None of this stuff came out, any of the convenient stuff that they said. Okay? And none of that came up. You probably knew that he had some social posts out there, right? That he had social posts that were anti-Trump. You probably knew that. You probably didn't know that the fact that he had the Antifa manifesto that he put the day after it came out, he put it on his Facebook page promoting Antifa, right? These are all things that you probably didn't know because the media is not going to tell you this story. So Gordon filled an affidavit. I had to make a decision. What do I do? I wanted to stay out of it. Just so you know, I had already lost my Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. I'm now just a finalist. Okay? I don't know if I'm going to still be able to sell the company. I'm pretty sure I can. We're still doing a lot of revenue. We're still doing great things. Pretty sure I'm still going to be able to sell it. And now I got to make a decision on a Friday night that I'm up elk hunting of what do I do about this guy that now is running 50% of the vote of the American people. And I'm going through it going, oh. So I put a post up and I forced myself down the thing. I call my wife. I sit there and talk to Gordon. He tells me to stay out of it. Look, Joe, you've literally done everything you can to sabotage the chances of building a legacy on tech. I'm a system architect, Kirk. I'm very good. Now I'm going to show you some other things that are going to be like, okay, all right. And you could come to my office and look through all of this. I had never said a crossword to Gordon. Never. And I told him to F off. And I got in my car and I drove home, pissed off that he would want me to just abandon people. If I was going to take credit for anything, it would have been taking credit for being an EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. It would have been taking credit for all the good things I did in my community. I would have not been a servant and worked with gang members. I would have done everything to self-promote myself. But instead, I've served my community. And you can have conversations with any number of people here. Apollo will tell you I'm sometimes an asshole. That is absolutely true. I am sometimes the biggest asshole you've ever met in your life. That's true. But I'm also super consistent. And I just tell you exactly what I think. And it might hurt your feelings, but I'm going to tell you it. Am I wrong, Apollo?
No, we all have our moments. You certainly do. But you are straightforward. You do not play games.
November 9th, I get on the podcast. I go through my notes. I'm mortified at what I'm about to do. I knew it would change my life forever. That was on the 9th. By the 11th, I'm in a grocery store. A tall guy wearing a mask walks in and says, I'm going to kill your family. I don't even actually remember the words, but basically, we're coming for you. By the time I could figure out what he was saying, 2 days after I did this on the 9th and how things are blowing up, he was already gone. The day after that, I met with Apollo. Right? Thursday. Wasn't that Thursday? Apollo? The 11th, 12th.
Yeah, I think it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone said, Joe, you have to have personal security. No one had been in my house yet. But I'm getting death threats, phone calls, emails, people showing up at my office. I have a wife and 2 kids. And by the way, I don't give you that because I'm a victim, because I'm not, just like you, I was a target. I'm not a victim. Hell no, I am not a victim. I will not be anybody's victim. Yet, fast forward, Apollo came in and worked 24 hours a day with another man watching my family. Now, I want you to understand this, and I'm only telling you this for my house is under massive construction. I'm living in a 43-foot RV. I had to put metal plates around the bed in case they shot into the RV so that they wouldn't kill my wife. While Apollo sat outside my house that, by the way, had no drywall in it.
That was good.
Right? And protect my family. By the third day of him being there was a guy that came on the property with a gun, a long gun. By the 10th day, that had been the third or fourth time someone had come there to do harm to my family. SWAT was at my house. I don't know if it was SWAT, but the SWAT people. While I slept, they're like, yeah, we had to have the police out. You can go run a records request at Douglas County. You can run it 21 times over 4 years. The police had to come to my home. 2 people have been arrested. Apollo did this every day for a year and a half. For 18 months. He lived in my home. When we finally got it all done, he lived in my home. Traveled everywhere with me. Everywhere. Didn't matter where I went, he was there. I had people across the street from my office with binoculars and or a gun that were on the top floor just outside. I can't count how many. Oh, that's right. They sent powder through the mail to my home to scare my wife and my daughter. And so I had to have hazmat come with the FBI, the sheriff's office, first responders, make us wait up at the cul-de-sac while they put up this ET tent and go down and check and make sure it's okay. And they never came back to tell me what was in the envelope. Never. They followed me. They took pictures of me. They harassed my family. I had to have security on my son when he went to DU that stood outside of his house and dormitory for 2 years. I had to send my ex-wife and my daughter out of the state. I mean, that's a lot to know that you're going to go through. To lie about a stupid call. I mean, that'd be the most foolish thing that a person could possibly do. And I screwed up selling my company. So not only that, but I risk all of this to get sued because I knew that was going to happen while they're trying to kill my family. And I got to pay Apollo a shit ton of money to watch my family, which he would have gladly done for free, but I wouldn't let him. And then fast forward to the middle of December. And this is when Eric Coomer wrote an article in the Denver Post. And in that article, he said that none of those social posts were his. They were all fabricated. And that anyone, did you know this? Bring it up, Apollo. And by the way, I get to do this. And I've done deposition after deposition after deposition. Yes, commentator, I work for Dominion Voting System. I did not commit voter fraud. The attacks against me need to stop. You can watch this. You can go look at it. It's up there. December 8th. He looks like a nice guy, right? Keep going. All the way down. Let's see here. Go up just a little bit. All right. It is unconscionable that certain fringe media personalities look to increase personal notoriety, website traffic. I did it for website traffic, Kirk. I did it for website traffic. And ad revenue would continue to prey on the fears of the public concerned about the safety and security of our electoral system. Additionally, any posts on social media channels purportedly to be from me have also been fabricated. I do not have a Twitter account, and my Facebook account is not active. These individuals are impersonating me. Kurt, do you think I impersonated his social media account?
You're not.
It becomes harder and harder for you to believe the call didn't occur, didn't it?
Absolutely.
I don't get this chance in the media. I got to take all the punches. And the only reason that I actually gave you a chance to come on here to have this conversation with you is I kind of needed the therapy. And I watched one of your episodes, and you're actually a really smart guy. So I knew that I was going to show at least part of it to you. And if you want to see all of it, you can. He also deleted all those social media posts. And then he sued me the day before Christmas. on December 24th. Oh, yeah. Here you go. Here's the Antifa manifesto that he put up.
Yeah, this is from his deposition.
Yeah. And he said he admitted to deleting the social post in his deposition. Now, keep in mind, Kirk, I have served my community since I gave my life to Jesus in 2007. I mean, without exception. I mean, my brother was murdered by a police officer. I actually thought that George Floyd was a guy that was beat up before I got into it. I mean, I had these feelings because I grew up in a place where I didn't particularly like police officers. So I had conflicts. Oh, is this an actual video of it?
Yeah.
And I'll share all this with you. If you want I will share the deposition with you. I want you to watch it because I know you will. Now I know you will watch it, right? That's Eric Coomer, right? Any part of this you want to play, Apollo?
There's a couple of points where he talks about Antifa I can play.
Yeah.
I think this is the right one.
Those are multiple terms. I'll pick out sarcastic, satirical, flippant, ironic, irreverent, blithe, sure.
Okay.
Dry, farcical.
Okay. So tell me which of those terms apply to this document. What in it is ironic, farcical, whimsical?
So, from my best recollection, this anonymous letter was posted the day after the current FBI released a statement saying that there was no such thing as an organized group called Antifa. So it's clear when it says, let us be perfectly clear, Antifa isn't an organization. There are no membership, no meetings, no dues, no rules. And then it goes on to then describe rules and leaders and structure.
And let me just remind everybody, this is part of the deposition when these posts were brought up and he was asked if these were his posts. And he said, yes, these are my posts, the ones that he claimed in that article that he were fabricated.
That in itself is a contradiction, which to me is satirical, tongue-in-cheek, irreverent, and trying to make a statement through that sarcasm.
Okay, so you think the article as a whole is satirical. Are there any particular statements in the article, other than the ones that you've already mentioned, that you believe are ironic?
I just wanted more
serious,
for Kirk.
Tongue-in-cheek, whimsical.
I wanted him to hear it and see it.
I'd have to reread the entire article, which if you want me to do that right now, I guess I can. But I would say on the whole, the document stands in and of itself as a satirical, sarcastic post.
Okay. Off the record, we'll let you read this on your own time. When you're ready.
Take it down for a minute. Kirk, it was the Antifa manifesto that basically called President Trump a fascist. Do you believe that that was a satirical article?
Absolutely not.
Do you believe what he said about Antifa not being an organization?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Kirk, here's the guy that runs 50% of the vote of the American people. He's one of 1,100 people. How would I pick out the head of strategy and security on a Friday night, 3 days after the election, before they even called it, out of 1,100 people out of a hat that happens to put the Antifa manifesto on his website or his socials, who then says the socials aren't his, who then says that it's a satirical thing. And I haven't even gotten to the juicy part where he basically said, kill pigs, kill the police, dead presidents, all the stuff where he's basically calling Trumpsters retards and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, really bad stuff. Okay. How would I pick him out of 1,100 people? Out of a hat. Well, I'm elk hunting. You think it's possible, Kirk?
No.
You think that a guy would give up a $250 million payday which I don't get all of it, 60% of it. You think I'd give up $250 million? Would you give up $250 million payday to ruin your life and have your wife and kids get attacked?
Would not.
Yeah. Okay, so now fast forward on this. So I decided to dig into Eric Coomer and see if it was just him or if Dominion voting systems could actually steal elections. Can you put up the model real quick, Apollo?
Yep, one sec.
And I did watch you in Deep Rig go through your paradigm and matrices you created. So
this has been the most difficult 4 years of my life, and I've been through a lot. Here's the model that I built in December of 2020. And I took this and I sent it to guys in Washington. I was like, I know how they're going to steal the election on January 5th, 2021, which is the runoff election for the Senate race in Georgia. And they were like, oh, that's a nice myth. I met with Patrick Byrne. I met with a bunch of people. Keep in mind, Apollo was with me this entire time. Apollo, you are welcome. And you have always had permission to basically call me out at any point. Correct?
Yeah.
Am I a different person to you than I am to Kirk?
No, this is how you are normally. And just in reference to this model too, I was there because I was there with you every day as you were building this model out before you presented it.
And they came in and they drilled me for what, 10 hours a day?
Yeah, it was like day after day after day. It was nonstop. We go meet with this one.
NSA
hours.
people.
Yeah, there was a whole
ODNI people. I mean, I was sitting in rooms with people that were like, how did you come up with this?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I read all the manuals and I compressed all the information together and I turned it sideways. And then I'm like, here are the ways that you can actually steal an election. Because I'm actually a smart guy. I'm actually not stupid. I think you probably understand that I'm not a stupid guy, right? And I'm probably pretty good at system architecture. Now, I had all this before there was no, keep in mind, there was absolutely zero audits. You had the one in Antrim County where they came out with the initial report that says that this system was designed to defraud the American people, but it didn't give us any architecture. This is the architecture. I was like, phantom and fake ballots. Here's how they did it. One is you inspect the signature. I call it adjudication one. Wrong vernacular for them. This is just a signature verification, but adjudication does mean signature. I mean, if you're adjudicating something, you're making sure that it's right? Compare it to records. If it is, you have voter registration validation. I didn't understand how they were connecting. But so I put a little internet thing there. Remember, this is also the time that they said that there was no connection to the internet. We still didn't have full verification that there was a connection to the internet. No one knew it. So why am I telling you that it's connected to the internet? Because I knew it was, right? Voter registration, and then you go right to cure. It's cured, comes back down, goes back to compared records, verified, goes over envelope, and the ballots are divided about 14, 15 days before the election. That's when you can take the vote out and put it separated from the envelope, okay? We never got access to the envelopes. So these are what are called small cons and big cons. That's what all the numbers are, right? Where you can actually infiltrate and steal things. And then I had to get to two, which is, first one is the fake ballots. It can be done manually or through automation. So you knew you could have these absentee, these ballots. And this didn't allow for the fact that you could have the Postal Service involved, which we know is involved. Two is the fake and phantom ballots. Three is the envelopes, because they never did any verification on envelopes because they were all destroyed. But if you look at two, fake ballots gets mixed in with phantom ballots. Phantom ballots don't exist. It's in the tabulation system. Who owns the adjudication process for Dominion voting systems? Who owns the patent? Eric Coomer.
Oh, no.
Did you know that?
Oh.
Eric Coomer. You didn't know
I did
that?
not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it starts to make sense, right? I mean, this guy owns the adjudication. I mean, he's the guy, right? If it's a good count, it goes to tabulation, right? If it's not, it goes to adjudication too. If you have a vote, it's like a off vote, or it doesn't have you have a suspension system inside of the tabulation system for adjudication that allows for you to suspend ballots. So you can put them in, as you want to. You don't even have to have a ballot. You can actually create a ballot out of thin air using what's called the ADA requirement, which basically allows them to create a ballot that looks like it's been filled in by human hands and then passed off as a vote. But see, remember what happened on November 3rd? All the systems went down and they came back up. It was called the Edison Zero. And when it came back up, you saw things flip and you saw votes change. And we saw it. We didn't know what it was doing, right? Yep, there it is. Eric Coomer. Ballot adjudication and voting systems, analyzing ballot images. dating back all the way to 2015. Okay. Ready for this? Once you know who voted at night when the system went down, what do you also know? If you know who voted, what else do you know?
You didn't vote?
Now, Kirk, what happens when you have a system that says, here are the people that voted, and you need to figure out who didn't vote? You create a database of information on voters. Now, I said the internet connection is before an outside registration system. So once you know who voted, then you could attach voters to illegitimate or phantom ballots you'd never know. Because what else do we know about all the things that we found is that they didn't have any log files because they were set to 2 KBs, which means you have no ability to actually recover that information. So they erased any sign that they were ever in the system, is what we found in Antrim County, what we found in Maricopa County, what we found in Mesa County, that they were stealing elections, and this is how they were doing it. But let's just say that they go get the votes, come back, come up, put it in the system, take all those phantom ballots, intent determined, put it in a good count, travel, registration, transfer. And what do we find out by Ruby and Shea is that these tabulation transfer devices, these little USBs, I can change all of the records in the system with one of these USBs. Now, what you also don't know is that after it's done with Dominion, it goes into a tabulation system that goes into Seidel. Seidel goes to Edison. Edison then goes to the media. So the whole system is designed to create a black box. Now, I just identified what in the black box happens with Dominion voting systems because I was able to verify this based upon the information that was publicly available. January 5th at night, I'm on a stage in Freedom Plaza, and I said, this is how they stole the elections, and all the TVs went off. Is that true, Apollo? Ding, 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 ding.
Yep, I had
all the red
people
lights
back
went out.
from Michigan and other states. They were telling me, "Hey, Joe's just speaking up, Liberty Plaza or Freedom Plaza, whatever it was." And yeah, we were watching on this YouTube stream, or watching over here, and they all just disappeared. We started talking about the machines, and we lost the feed.
Now, Kirk, this is the most. You're actually interviewing me now because I've been going on for this for a while. But January 5th was also at the Freedom Plaza that things got really weird for me across the board. Like, keep in mind, I'm in DC because I was asked to come there. I had met with different voting groups, NSA groups, guys that were mixed in with ODNI. I'm giving access to information about the Insurrection Act, meeting with President Trump. I'm meeting with John Eastman. I'm meeting with other people that work in the State Department. Like, I'm in the room having, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Patrick Byrne. I mean, you name it. I'm having conversations with people, and frankly, I'm still like, I'm not impressed. The thirst for power and money in DC on everyone's part is pretty high. Like, everyone wants to be important, and I'm this fish out of water that doesn't particularly like people. In other words, I don't like being in rooms with lots of people. I don't like being recognized. I just want to be a guy that helps people. Like, I'm that guy, right? I live my life that way. So fast forward to the 6th at 2:00 in the morning, Apollo and I get a call, and like, you get back over here. Well, here's what happened on January 5th. I said, the votes are going to switch. The Republicans are going to be up. It's going to be up nominally. And then all of a sudden, the system's going to come down. When it comes back up, the Democrats are going to be winning. What do you think happened on the 5th? You can go check it. You can go check the math.
Democrats were behind, and then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, they took the lead.
50.2%, 50.1%, 49.7%, and it was just outside the limits by which you could do an audit. True story.
Jeez.
And they said, Joe, how did you know? And Apollo, what did I say?
I'm clairvoyant.
I said, I'm clairvoyant. And I said, actually, I told you what was going to happen. I know what I'm talking about. And they're like, we need you to go to meet with Pompeo immediately.
This was actually a little bit funny, just, if I can reminisce, because I had watched you tell people for like 2 days now what was going to happen, and explain why, with some of the architecture, and then they came to you afterwards, and your response when they asked you, like, how do you know? after you'd just been like telling them and sending them information. It was pretty funny because then the like the I'm clairvoyant line hits really different when you like look back at how much he was saying the same freaking thing the entire time. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah. So I went to the State Department. I was in a Faraday box with Apollo. Apollo went with me, and some really important people to meet with Pompeo. So I went to the State Department. When things were popping off on the Capitol steps, all the things that John Eastman said at Freedom, or what is it called? The Ellipsis?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Kirk, that was all stuff he got from me. He was repeating what I had told him and that he proved. Okay? So I went to the State Department. I'm inside of this Faraday box. Can't have cell phones, can't have computers. Guess who snuck out the back door? Pompeo.
Eric Coomer? Oh, Pompeo. Oh, bad sleazeball.
Okay, so I meet with counsel for Pompeo. He finally gets it all set. We're sitting in this room. I have some really important people that are in the room with me. Matt DePerno, I think, was in the room with me too. Which, by the way, I sat down on the couch with him by accident while we were in one of these rooms at the Willard Hotel. And I tell the council what happened, what would happen, and they're like, Joe predicted everything almost to the T. And he looks at me, and he looks down, he looks back up at me, and he's got sweat on his forehead. And he's like, why would they do that? And at that moment, I knew that he knew that I knew that he knew I knew that he knew that they stole the election. Right? You got all that, right? And then I was like, we got to get out of here. I'm like, this is not comfortable. And one of the deputy secretary of states that was there with me, I told him, and he showed me a letter from McIlerney and all this other stuff. And I was like, that's not what you don't understand. This is a bigger deal. This is a bigger play. Like everyone hears them. They're all in on it. Right? That night, so we leave, go back. That night, I'm sitting in the room with Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Patrick Byrne walks in. We have a bunch of conversations. And I figured out that night that nobody had a plan. Their plan was they didn't have a plan. And so I was asked to go meet with President Trump. On the 7th, my company was infiltrated. They tried to steal all of my money. And I had somebody inside of my company that was basically getting paid to destroy my company. They tried to freeze all my bank accounts, or they tried to take all my bank accounts, all my money out of it. I stepped down as a CEO because somebody in my company said that I was at the Capitol and I was an insurrectionist and everything else, which wasn't true. I resigned as a CEO because I had work that I had to do with President Trump. And that next day I was supposed to meet with President Trump and I couldn't. There was a recorder underneath the bed in our room. We had to get out of there. And if I didn't get home to my company, I was going to lose it. So I had to freeze all my accounts as a result of it and get back to save it. I had to step down from my company for 3.5 years and walk away from it while basically everything that I lived my life for was basically being thrown away. All the hard work was thrown out the window. Now, fast forward, I've been consistent in what I've said every time. Yes, I told people that for treason, I think people should be hung because it wasn't a victimless crime. What they did to you was not a victimless crime. You're not a victim, you're a target, but it was not a victimless crime. Your parents had to see you go through it. And frankly, my family had to go through it, and I had to watch them go through it. And that was terrifying for me. I had to get on this show and tell people that I would literally kill them if they came to my home again. I will put you in a bag. I will literally do bad things to you. You will make peace with God because this is I had to make a decision to become a person I didn't want to become a warrior all the time, 24 hours a day, and hammer it every day for 3.5 years. Now, I got to go do a deposition. I got an Antifa judge. I got so much more that I could tell you. We're going to run out of time, but I wanted to give you a basis for it. And then all of a sudden, 2 days before I do that deposition with Eric Coomer, he gets arrested for running into a building drunk. He ran into his own bar and took 2 shots, and then he lied to police. Did you know about this?
I did not.
Apollo, do you have that?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Do you know who showed up on the side of the road with him to negotiate him out of a felony? His attorneys. But you know what else he did? He also wrote about raping his wife, peeing on her, making her bark like a dog. He has a Church of Satan tattoo on his right arm. So he's a drug addict. He is a self-proclaimed skinhead. And this is the guy that runs 50% of the vote of the American people. I ran a company and served my community for at that point, it was 15 years. And I'm the bad guy that wrote all this bad stuff about me. And this guy literally talks about raping his wife, who finally left him, and then put his email address on it and bragged about how he raped his wife. That's Eric Coomer, the Director of Strategy and Security for Dominion Voting Systems, who said I defamed him. Is this it?
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to play audio.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't stop because it was in full progress. I mean,
full motion?
Yeah, it was. He didn't stop.
And then what did you see after he came through the intersection?
He stopped. Looked like his head bounced off the steering wheel.
Did okay.
Yeah, so
I'll be right with you, sir.
I did. If you can zoom in, you can see some.
Did you see where he went?
Well, yeah, he was.
Here, let me go to where they approach him. Here it is.
Here you go.
Yeah. Okay. Have you had anything to drink since you got here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just run in and get the shots, right?
Cook?
After hitting a building?
Okay. From where you parked there?
Came from my house, came down. I live up on the mesa.
Okay.
So I came down side route, came down Sackett.
Pay attention to this part, Kirk.
So what happened in between there?
Okay, I'm going to come around to the front.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. So you didn't hit a building?
No.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have your truck with damage on it.
Okay.
Matching damage to a building down there.
Okay.
And witnesses saying a guy in blue plaid got out of the truck and came back here.
Okay.
So you're saying that wasn't you?
No.
Okay. You understand why that's hard to believe?
Understood.
But you...
So you had a little accident down there, huh?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. There are tons of witnesses down there described you to a T. So you can either be honest about it or you can stick to your story.
Not sure what you're asking about.
The accident that happened right over here.
Not sure what you're
Second
asking
G.
about.
You weren't driving and had an accident in your own vehicle?
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall. Okay. We'll go with that then.
I'm going to have you stay here till that witness comes down.
Sure.
I'll have you step out. I'm not going to put you in handcuffs or anything. I'm just going to have you step out when they get here.
Okay. This gentleman's his attorney. He's just...
Oh.
That's convenient to show up on the side of the road.
This is Brad Clower of the law firm Kane & Skernoulis. They are representing Eric in his suit. They have an office just around the corner. Of local interest, Kane & Skernoulis also represent Allison Brown in her lawsuit against Chaffee County.
Well, basically, long story short, he crashed into the building down here, then almost hit some people in the intersection, and then hit his car down there.
Here's a negotiation, Kirk.
People saw him, people took pictures of him, people ID'd him, but rather than get a ticket for a car accident, a property damage car accident with no injuries, he'd rather go to jail for a felony because he wants to lie to us. So I'm going to charge him with attempting to influence a public official and probably impound his truck. Just wants to talk to him, and then you give him a quick Miranda and he gives you a statement like, yeah, I missed the corner and crashed, and give me my tickets, then we'll cut him his traffic tickets and move on. Like,
Hey, Aiden, you still rolling?
I think Eric wants to clear up.
Okay. So, walk me through what happened.
I was on my phone.
Okay.
I've been under a lot of stress.
Okay.
I hit the building and I panicked.
Okay. So you were on your phone, didn't watch that stop sign, just went straight through.
I did.
Okay. So hit the building and then you drove down here to where we're at now.
And I went to work.
Okay.
I panicked. You can Google my name.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can't Google his name.
I mentioned this to my co-counsel, Charlie Kane. He's going to take...
Oh, there's the other
This
lawyer.
is Charlie Kane of the law firm Kane and Skernoulis.
Hey, Charlie. Hey, how are you? Lance Cliff. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yes, sir. This is Officer Aiden Osborne. Aiden Osborne.
Aiden. Hi, Charlie Kane. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Just stick with him until you're feeling okay, all right?
I got it.
Thank you, sir.
2 days later, Eric gives his deposition.
I can say categorically.
Now I want you to listen to
statements
this.
of me
Listen
being
to
on
this.
a call, affecting the election, saying that I would ever guarantee that Trump won are categorically false, made up, and bullshit.
Stop it.
Without a doubt.
What did he say? Kirk, what did he say?
The accusation that he would interfere with the election are bullshit.
No. Play it again.
No.
Statements
Listen to
of
what he
me being on a call, affecting the election, saying that I would ever guarantee that Trump won are categorically false, made up, and bullshit.
What did he say?
And any accusation that he would interfere with the election and ensure Trump won was bullshit.
Now, Kurt, I'm going to ask you a question. Go ahead, pull this down. I have spent 2 hours with you. I mean, you could come meet my wife of 23 years. You can meet my children. Both work for me. You can meet Apollo. You can meet the people here. You can go through the affidavits. You can look at the stuff related to my company. You can go double check the fact that I'm Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. I have the trophies upstairs. It's actually not much of a trophy, but I can't buy groceries with it. I didn't run into a building. I didn't do any of those things. I'm not a drug addict. Never done drugs in my life. I quit drinking about 6 months ago just because I wanted to stay clear. You tell me, Kirk, was there a phone call or was there not a phone call?
There's a phone call. Absolutely.
It's hard to see all that and not say to yourself, this guy's full of shit.
To deny that the posts were his and then in a deposition say that, oh no, I only posted it because they were satirical, incongruent, makes no sense. He's lying.
He ran into a building and lied.
Yep.
He's got a Church of Satan tattoo on his arm. And I don't say you be a Satanist all you want. He's a drug addict. He's a self-proclaimed skinhead, but he's a good type of skinhead that likes black people. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but okay, I got you. And then there's me. The guy that ran a company, that actually has a company, that understands system architecture, that did go to DC, did all those things. This is why I wanted to have you on. And by the way, I talk about this openly all the time about Eric, and I'm still being sued. Like, I don't care. I did nothing wrong. I feel like the rape victim that literally just gets to be told, yeah, just sit down and shut up. You're not allowed to hear you. We're not going to hear you. We're going to write bad stuff about you. We're going to do all this stuff about you. I'm still consistent. I still give. I still love on people. Am I angry? Yeah. I'm super freaking angry. Sometimes I'm more than I should be angry. But one thing I'm not is a liar. So there you go.
That was incredible. Hell of a breakdown. Sorry for doubting you.
Hey, that's why I wanted you to come on. I've done this I had a friend of mine he's a raging liberal. I was like, bro, we're still friends. He's like, no, we're not. And I was like, okay, well, sorry. One of my good friends, who's my business partner for 13 years, is a gay married Jewish father of 2. Like, I love people regardless of where they are. I accept them where they are, not where I want them to be. And that way I can be an example to them. Right? So, Kurt, thanks for giving me the time. And thanks for telling your story. It's really important for you to tell it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And maybe I'll come on your podcast next.
Love it. The invitation is open.
All right. Awesome. Well, how can people follow you?
So I'm on SoundCloud, Rumble, and YouTube. Notionally Accurate Podcast. You can find me on X/Twitter at Notionally ACC. That's Notionally ACC. You can email me at notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com.
So Notionally is NOTIONALLY. Just so everybody knows.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, I look forward to having you on. This is your deal now. I do follow you. So is that you, Apollo, that's under? You better follow him. It says follow back.
That's the show count.
Oh, yeah. I follow you. I follow you. At Joe Oltmann X, I follow you. Kurt, I do want to say this to you. The fact that you were able to keep your faculties and do the things that you were able to do, and to recognize the fact that you're not a victim, makes you one of a very few. And so I commend you. I commend you for the ability that you had to stand up for your parents, to go through the ridicule you had with HR. Because I know every one of those times you have to be introspective and say, am I the person they're saying I am? Am I the Nazi? Am I the right? And it's no matter who you are, it wears on you if you're a good person. So I just commend you on coming through the other side, to walk through it and coming through the other side.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. So I'm going to close out, but I get to pray for you. And I close every podcast with a prayer. And so if you'll let me, I'd like to be able to close this one that way. Let you stay with me through it.
Please.
All right.
Please.
For those of you that are on, you can obviously follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. You're welcome to share this wherever you can. Be the ambassadors of truth. And just recognize that you don't know people's journey. And I think one of the things I got from this is I could have taken this conversation with Kirk a different direction. And something in me said, no, don't do that. Just invite him on. Have a conversation. There was something about the fact that I knew something was bothering him. And I don't know, call it maybe that still small voice. But you do have to slow down to speed up. You have to slow down and listen to people. And then, great friendships and relationships can come out of that. So I'm grateful for that. All right. Father God, thank you for Kirk. Thank you for his commitment. Thank you for his steadfastness. And thank you for the grace that he gave me to come on the show. And for the courage it took him to talk about the things that were done to him and how he was doxxed. Thank you, Father, for giving him wisdom. Thank you for giving him the podcast that he has. And I would just ask that you elevate his voice. Father, we are grateful to play a part in this restoration, restoring you to our community, to our country, restore goodness and ethics and morals, and to be able to draw a firm line between that is good and that is bad. We're thankful for the people that listen, Father, and we're thankful for the opportunity we had to be able to speak to each other, but also speak to those that are listening. We're thankful for the ability to reconcile. And I am grateful that I got a chance to reconcile with Kirk today. Father, I ask you to bless Kirk with the peace that comes from the future, like knowing what's going to happen next. I ask you to bless him financially, to lift the burdens off of him. I ask you to bless his parents with safety and him with safety. I ask you to surround him, Father, with people that can give him good counsel, be encouraging, and accept him where he is, as he is, but to be that sense of encouragement and support. I ask you, Father, to bless those that are listening, that they may have peace in their hearts, even as we talked about some really just difficult things, difficult conversations today. I ask you to bless our team. And Father, I ask you to bless our leadership, bless President Trump, and to give him the tools and the courage and the necessary strategies to defeat the evil that he's up against, to keep him safe and to keep Elon Musk safe and Kash Patel, and to give them the ability to step up and do the right thing, regardless of how difficult it may be or the fear that they have that it may not work out, but that they will follow your lead, Father, and do what is necessary to restore you and to restore goodness to our country and to our community and to the world. Father, we ask you to guide us, that we may step shoulder to shoulder and side by side. We may set aside petty differences, and we may seek to work the problem, not just service the symptom. And I ask these things, Father, humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Kirk, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. I'll be back in touch with you. I have your number. I would have called you, but I had to take a quick trip to DC.
Life happens. I get it.
Yeah, it does. All right. Thanks again. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.